Hello, we are team number 5 and we're going to talk about Guanajuato City. First of all, the predominant climate in Guanajuato in rainy season is hot and cloudy, and in dry season is comfortable and also cloudy. The average temperature is between 4 degrees and 28 degrees. It rarely drops to 1 degree and rises about 31 degree. In Guanajuato, the water availability per capita does not even reach the 1,000 cubic meters per year due to the dispute of the resource in the geographic position. As a consequence, the water resource is each day more scarce, polluted, and overexploited. In Guanajuato, an average income of 131 tons of waste a day, in which 100 tons are from the urban waste and the other 31 tons are industry waste, in which we can find heavy metals analyzed in leachate, which are the ones that most polluted cows in the region due to their filtration in the water, generating through fermentation and decomposition of some industrial dryers the pollution of the water. The main cause of the increase of the particles in the air is due to the burning in the open air by bonfires, pyrotechnics, burning grass holes, burning trees, among other factors. According to INEGI, in 2015, Guanajuato was the seventh state with more vehicles in circulation, having the Guanajuato City with 67,508 vehicles in circulation. This in correlation of the number of habitants at that time was really high number, and a cause of this was the massive transportation of people within the city, and a consequence of this was to make Guanajuato City transportation system make buses with defined roads, which nowadays represents, apart from cars, the number one transportation resource.
Okay, so in 2020, there was a registered number of 194,500 inhabitants living in Guanajuato. Now I'm going to talk about education. In 2020, the main academic degrees of population of Guanajuato were middle school with 35.6% of the total, then elementary with 26.1% of the total, and then high school with 19.9% of the total. The institutions that concentrated the highest number of students in 2020 were the Universidad de Guanajuato, Universidad Virtual del Estado de Guanajuato, and the Instituto Universitario del Centro de México. This same year, the most demanded careers in Guanajuato were law degree with 11.9 thousand, industrial engineering with 10.6 thousand, and degree in education with 5.29 thousand. And now I'm going to talk about the main economic activities, unemployment rates, and the city's GDP. So according to data from the economic census in 2019, the economic sectors that concentrated the most economic units in Guanajuato were retail trade with 107,516 unities, other services except government activities, that this is 32,140 unities, and manufacturing industries with 31,508 unities. And for the GDP, the most accurate GDP that we could find was from 2011, and it's 534.947, which right now it's millions of pesos in current prices.
Considering that in 2016 the average person in Mexico consumed 2,127 kilowatts of electricity and 385 liters of gasoline per year, by using the population in our city, which is Guanajuato, we use the equation of carbon dioxide equivalent emissions equals greenhouse times global warming potential to calculate the carbon dioxide emissions for electricity and for gasoline. For the CO2 emissions of electricity, we got 438,646,275 tons of CO2 per year. For gasoline, we got 1,415,279,250 tons of CO2 per year. So considering that in Guanajuato we only have about 80,000 registered cars in a population of about 200,000 people, it is not surprising that the CO2 emissions of electricity and gasoline is relatively low compared to cities like Monterrey and Guadalajara and Ciudad de Mexico due to the huge difference of population.
Things that are working in Guanajuato. One of the principal requirements is transportation, and this city has the Optibus, and they integrate transportation system to transport a massive quantity of people as years pass. They make more bicycle paths. Also, a big percentage of population has access to education and programs that promote recycling and be conscious of pollution. Guanajuato has its own local economic activities and promotes sustainable tourism. In Guanajuato, there is a solar panel farm called Don Jose. It is valued at $220 million worth. It is one of the national leaders in broccoli, cucumber, carrots, onion, lettuce, and asparagus. Things that can be improved in Guanajuato. They have programs to recycle, but I consider they can improve this and make it more viral and useful in all places. Since the city has many artisanal markets where they are selling their product at a very minimal price, since tourism or locals won't buy if their prices are high. Ethical consumption can be more acceptable even though the products that they are selling do not harm the environmental nor society. They do not harm the sellers since they are not selling for a reasonable price to justify their hard work. Artisanal markets within Guanajuato promotes being an ethical consumer but need improvement in certain factors. They have water conservation programs, but they need to continue working on this. Things that Guanajuato should have. Although it has a public transport, a lot of people is still using their own car. They need to start making more carpooling and going in bicycle and use public transportations.
To conclude, I would like to say that overall, I think Guanajuato is a sustainable city which meets several requirements. It has a pretty good education, and the population has access to these programs that promote sustainability. It is a visited place not only by tourists from other countries, but also by Mexicans all over the country themselves. And in my opinion, it has the characteristics of being a sustainable city.
Considering the population, the amount of cars, and the pollution, I feel like Guanajuato is a sustainable city. The only issue I see is the water availability. However, the city is currently working on creating 2 new solar electric plants. Even though this is not directly related, it will dramatically impact the society of Guanajuato. Overall, this is a sustainable city, and as long as they have control over the water problem, there should be no issues.
As my conclusion, I think Guanajuato City has some potential to be even more sustainable, using a better use of the water they have available and a better treat with their waste, most specific their industrial waste. They have a pretty good level of education and some little dropouts. The program of sustainability Guanajuato City is promoting are really good for them and for the rest of the Republic.
In conclusion, Guanajuato is a sustainable city. It has a lot of the major factors, but I think it has a lot of things that they can improve. But as an average, I think they're a good sustainable city.